It's December 15th, 2019. We are in Madrid, Spain, in the Palacio Vista Alegre. We are at Champions Field, NRG Esports versus Renault Vitality. We're in Game 7, overtime. This game carries a lot of weight to it. But to really understand what this moment means, we'll have to understand every person on Team NRG. To tell the story of NRG, we have to go all the way back to the inaugural season of RLCS, Rocket League's highest tier of competition. Garrett Gordon, a 16-year-old, competed in the first open qualifier to try and qualify for the World Championship. His team, Vex Gaming, was able to make it through open qualifiers and would be one of 4 North American teams facing the top 4 teams from Europe. These 8 teams would all be competing at the Avalon Hollywood Arena in Los Angeles. Garrett, in his first season, was already competing on the biggest stage possible for Rocket League. His team, now under Exodus, was the 2nd seed from North America, and in his first series faced a team called Rocket Esports EU, the 3rd seed from Europe. Rocket Esports had one player who would be more significant than the rest, a 18-year-old Swedish player by the name of Pierre Silver, going under the name Turbo Pulsa. Turbo would also be making the World Championship, placing 3rd in the 2 qualifiers, and his team was a definitive top 4 team in Europe. Garrett did not have an easy challenge ahead of him. Garrett would sweep Turbo and Rocket Esports and send them to the lower bracket. Unfortunately for Garrett, the rest of the tournament did not go as planned. They were swept in the next 2 series, and just like that, Garrett had his first event under his belt. For Turbo, his first competition came in 2 losses. Not only did they lose to Garrett and Exodus, but they lost to the number 4 seed from NA. This put Turbo's team in dead last. So Turbo found 2 new teammates for Season 2 on a team called Oh My Dog. But unlike Season 1, they ended up finishing 7th in the regular season, meaning Turbo would not be competing at the World Championship. Garrett, on the other hand, now under Orbit Esports, with the same team, made Season 2. However, when they reached the Season 2 World Championship in Amsterdam, it went about as good as Turbo's first season did. They got reverse swept in the first round by Rocket Esports, and in the second round, lost in 4 to Take 3, the number 4 seed from North America. This put Garrett in the same position as Turbo, so he looked for 2 new teammates on a team called NRG, with Jacob and Fireburner. On the other hand, Turbo took a step back. He was the substitute position on Northern Gaming. A substitute is rarely used in the RLCS, as it is only used when a player disconnects online or if a player cannot show up to an event. As the number 4 seed from Europe, Turbo didn't think he would have a chance to compete at the biggest stage. Northern Gaming announced that Maestro, a player on the main roster, would not be able to compete at Los Angeles Season 3 World Championship. This would give Turbo another opportunity. Garrett, on the other hand, was the number 1 seed from North America, and proved it. Northern Gaming swept their first round to face NRG in the second round of the upper bracket. Garrett and Turbo would be facing once again, but just like the first time, Garrett was able to sweep Northern Gaming and move on to the upper bracket semifinals. This started Northern Gaming's lower bracket run, as they would win 4 matches in a row to be in the lower bracket final, where they would once again meet NRG. NRG just came down for the upper bracket final, losing to the number 1 seed from Europe, Rocket Esports, in 7 games. But this time, Turbo got the better of NRG and Garrett G, beating them in 5 games and moving on to the World Championship. Turbo would be in the grand finals as a substitute. No one even expected Northern Gaming to be in this position, but Turbo, knowing those expectations, proved everyone wrong. They beat Rocket in 6 games, causing a bracket reset. And in 7 games, won the second series, and Turbo had won his first ever World Championship. And he did it as a substitute. Season 4 was 2 very different stories. Turbo, a proven talent, now started on the Europe's number 1 seed Gale Force Esports in the World Championship. Garrett, on the other hand, was only the number 3 seed from North America. Garrett would lose his first series in 5 games, sending him down to the lower bracket. And it was there that they lost to the number 1 seed from OCE, placing Garrett dead last once again. For Turbo, on the other hand, it was another day in the office. Turbo ended up winning back-to-back championships, only dropping a total of 4 games the entire tournament. He was also named the World Championship MVP. Turbo was the first player to win 2 championships, and he did it back-to-back. Season 5 was the same story. At least for Turbo it was. Turbo, now with the same team, now on Team Dignitas, was again the #1 seed from Europe. Garrett had just come dead last. He then took to Twitter and said some of his most famous words. "Regardless of what happens, I'm not going to stop until I get to lift that trophy." After the last place finish, NRG needed a change. Jacob was replaced by the up-and-coming star Justin. NRG picked him up, and they proved to be a threat. Both Turbo and NRG won their first series in 5. They would face each other in the upper bracket semifinals. Garrett and Justin would be facing Team Dignitas and Turbo. Once again, Garrett was met with a familiar foe. Garrett got the better of Turbo, beating him in 4 games, and moving on to the upper bracket finals. Turbo, on the other hand, just like in Season 3, started making a lower bracket run. It was almost destiny that NRG and Dignitas would meet in the grand finals once again. Turbo and his team proved that his team was dynasty material. They would beat NRG in 5 games and cause a bracket reset. And it was there that we saw one of the best moments in RLCS history.
And he won't let up now! 4 seconds left!
NRG need this immediately. They've got the kick off in their favor. Kato tries to clear. It is almost there. It just hit the floor. Violet Panda puts it a long way. And it's almost there. Justin keeps it alive. Turbo wasn't there. Bounces
into the corner.
NRG still around. Justin is there for the shot. Justin! This is Rocket League!
Justin had hit one of the biggest shots of all time. But unfortunately, NRG would not get the better of Turbo, as Turbo would bring his team back and quickly beat NRG in Game 7 of overtime. Turbo had just repeated, and the Dignitas roster had just won back-to-back championships. Garrett had to watch as Turbo, now a 3-time champion, hoisted the trophy. Season 6 was the end of the Dignitas dynasty. They had lost to North America, but not to NRG. They had lost to Cloud9, a team that made a lower bracket run, beating NRG in the second lower bracket round. NRG had come 7th to 8th place. Season 7 would be a disaster for both NRG and Turbo. After the second place finish, K-Dop had left for Renault Vitality. This caused Turbo and Dignitas to miss the World Championship. NRG, still the #1 seed for North America, made it through groups, but then lost to Vitality in the first round of playoffs. After Season 7, Garrett's longtime teammate Fireburner announced his retirement. There was only one person that could fill the spot of such a legend as Fireburner. In the first EU to NA transfer, Turbo joined Garrett and Justin on NRG. Garrett even offered Turbo a place to live in North America. NRG made it to the Season 8 World Championships as the #1 seed from North America once again. Garrett was the only player now to have made it to every single World Championship event. NRG would meet Renault Vitality in the Grand Finals. Game 1, NRG would win 4-1. Vitality would win the next 2 games, and NRG was down 2-1. NRG would win the next game in overtime, and then beat Vitality 1-0 in Game 5. NRG was just 1 win away from Garrett and Justin getting their first title and Turbo getting his 4th. Vitality held off Justin's last-second attempt, and it would go to Champions Field. The tension in the arena was at an all-time high. Justin would strike first in Game 7, demoing Scrub Killer to give NRG the first lead. But Vitality would fight back, Fairy Peak scoring a goal line scuffle and tying the game up. This would be decided in overtime. But that's where we are now. 21 seconds into overtime, Justin just got a pass from Garrett. Turbo had just opened the field from a demo, and the casters were ready to lose their mind. Welcome to a moment in history.
Play to this corner. Fairy Peak. He's got past 2 players. Looks for a bump. Garrett G clears. Justin! Justin! Justin!